All right, big 49ers update. They have officially opened Christian McCaffrey's practice window. So he technically is still on injured reserve, but he is practicing. And the 49ers now have 3 weeks to decide whether or not they're going to activate him to the 53-man roster, which would officially move Christian off of injured reserve. Then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are practice days ahead of the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If the 49ers operate in this situation the way that they usually have when it comes to return to play activations, they'll make a decision at the end of this week and formally activate Christian McCaffrey on Saturday if they choose to do so before the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But today is November 4th. It's a Monday. The 49ers have 3 weeks now to make a decision on Christian McCaffrey. So 1 week is November 11th, 2 weeks is November 18th, 3 weeks is November 25th, which is the day after the 49ers play the Packers. If they think that he needs more ramp-up time and this drags out, then on November 25th, they're going to have to make a final decision if this drags out the full 3 weeks. And at that point, if they decided not to fully activate Christian McCaffrey, he would be on season-ending injured reserve. But in all likelihood, they'll activate him at some point before then, which means that he'll either be available for this game against Tampa Bay coming up on Sunday, or the game against the Seattle Seahawks coming up at Levi's Stadium on November 17th, or the November 24th game at Green Bay. I talked a lot about Christian McCaffrey over the course of the past several days because he obviously has been the center of the news for the 49ers. And an article that I wrote a few days ago looks like this up on the San Francisco Standard. How a healthy Christian McCaffrey can take the 49ers offense from good to great. That's where we stand right now. The 49ers have the number 7 ranked offense in the NFL. That's DVOA, defense adjusted value over average. The pass offense is number 6. The run offense is ranked number 12. Christian McCaffrey can help both of those units. We went through some red zone stats here. The 49ers are ranked number 22 in red zone points per possession, number 27 in red zone touchdown rate. How about this? This is the receiving distribution that we've seen for the 49ers this year. And I think that the pass game is where the 49ers miss Christian the most. 1.36 yards per route run last year, which is really good for a running back. Obviously nothing this season on the right side. They're only getting 0.57 yards per route run from Jordan Mason right now, which is much less than what they got from Christian McCaffrey last year. In fact, CMC's number last year was 2.4x that. On top of the receiving efficiency that McCaffrey delivers himself that you can very accurately measure, I think his absence has also negatively impacted the 49ers' other receivers, because he's a gravitational force out on the football field. He is so dangerous, even when he doesn't have the ball, because of what he can potentially do if the ball gets to him, that it helps other receivers get open because defenses are taking a step toward, or at least looking toward, Christian McCaffrey much more often than they do at somebody else in his position. The dual threat ability of McCaffrey to both run efficiently and also catch the football out of the backfield and be the threat that he is helps the 49ers offense tick. I mentioned they were number 6 in the pass DVOA this year, number 12 in run DVOA, number 7 overall. Last season, they were number 1 in pass DVOA, number 2 in run DVOA, and number 1 overall. Even though Brock Purdy's probably playing better this year than he was last year. But it's a team sport, and Kyle Shanahan recently called Christian McCaffrey the NFL MVP. And the reason he called him the NFL MVP is, well, because together with Purdy, they've formed a historically good battery at the center of the 49ers offense. So this return news is obviously huge. The 49ers have managed to stay afloat while McCaffrey's been hurt. Remember early in the season when they first put him on injured reserve, or even before then when he wasn't able to suit up for the Jets game? The take at the time, and it's aged really well, was that the 49ers don't need Christian McCaffrey to stay afloat. But there's a difference between treading water and going on a run. The 49ers have treaded water. They're 4-4. They're right in the thick of things in both the NFC West and the NFC race. They're fine. But at some point, you've got to go on a run. And I think that a healthy Christian McCaffrey is a necessary ingredient for the 49ers to go on a sustainable run. They could have been 6-2 easily without him right now. I get it. They could have beaten the Rams. They could have beaten the Cardinals. Both games they blew. They certainly wouldn't have blown those games had Christian McCaffrey been playing. So the 49ers margin for error shrunk big time without him. But even though the worst happened over the course of those first 8 games, those 2 devastating losses, the 49ers are still afloat. So it proves the theory that they didn't need him to stay afloat to be correct. But now, again, they need to kick it into overdrive. They need to kick it into another gear. And that's why Christian McCaffrey is necessary. We look at the 49ers offense, defense, and special teams efficiency. Even if we assume, and I know it's a big assumption, that the 49ers special teams will hold serve and play as well as it did against the Dallas Cowboys over a week ago on Sunday night. Even if we assume that, they need real balance between the offensive and defensive phases of the game. Right now, defensively, they're near the top 5 in DVOA. They're number 6, but they've been imperfect defensively. EPA says they're number 12 defensively, so it's not been an elite unit. And if it stays around that ballpark range, somewhere between 6 and 12, to realistically have a shot to win the Super Bowl, the 49ers need to field an elite offense. And it has been shown, and I wrote about it here up on the San Francisco Standard, that the ticket to an elite offense for the 49ers requires Christian McCaffrey. Brock Purdy's part of that equation. Christian McCaffrey is another important part of the equation. Now, we could finish up by talking about the exact health situation here, or at least what we know of it. Achilles tendonitis required a lot of rest for Christian McCaffrey, but also a sophisticated ramp-up period to make sure that he got back in shape enough, at least to the point where he could practice today, as we've seen him practice today. The practice was preceded by Christian McCaffrey running simulated practices by himself and some trainers on the 49ers practice field. So it's been a delicate situation because when the Achilles is fraying, when that tendonitis is there, there's a higher chance of an Achilles rupture. So you have to re-strengthen the tendon, but you also have to keep the athlete in shape. So the 49ers have been managing both of those things. Christian McCaffrey, as we know, even went to Germany at one point to see if that could improve his situation. So we don't have the details as to exactly where he is and exactly what he had to undergo over the past several months. But rest assured, the 49ers did slow play this because they knew that they wouldn't need him to stay afloat over the first half of the season. And then McCaffrey hit several checkpoints in the ramp up to get to this point. And now they hope that the next checkpoint he hits is of a full activation to the 53-man roster. For that, stay tuned because that is coming up in all likelihood, and as the 49ers hope, over the next several days.